Greetings, cyber people. Mark here, and I am pleased to share with you the final episode in our series, Incident Response. Today, we're going to take on the final phase, also known as the lessons learned. This is how we formally review what happened, and we map out ways we can improve ourselves for if we have to go through this exercise again. So don't go anywhere. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Check out the many blog posts and podcasts from the members of the SecurIT360 team. Here's a little bit about me. For more information, be sure to check out the other videos in our series, and I dive into my background a little bit deeper. But let's go ahead and get started. The lessons learned or post-mortem stage incident response is ways for us to improve our overall handling of an incident going forward for future incidents. And therefore, this also helps us with our overall security posture. That we're in a position to better handle incidents. We're going to reduce the damage to the business, which is our overall objectives here. Here we take a healthy evaluation of the incident. We understand how and why it happened. And then we also do an assessment as far as how well did our incident response work, or did it fail us? And if it failed us, how? This is where we have to ask the tough questions. What went wrong? If things did go wrong, how do we fix that? Are we fixed? As well as, let's look for some things that went well. What went right? How do we continue to capitalize or build on that? And then the overall final questions you should be asking is like, are we better off now than we started? Or at least are we back to square one? And we want to take these lessons learned and we incorporate them into some of the other business continuity exercises, such as business impact analysis and tabletop exercises, so we can continue to drill and improve our performance. In summary, once the incident is over, we're running it back at normal operation. We're actually starting the preparation for the incident all over again. And once again, here's our 6 primary phases of incident response brought to us by the C Institute. We're now down here on the lessons learned stage. And as we talked about before, that we're constantly rolling back to other phases. And this is a good time to show us that everything we're going to take out of our lessons learned, we're going to bring back to preparation. So now we're back and we're formally preparing ourselves for the next incident. And how we go about that is some things we might do from the lessons learned is first we have to actually conduct a formal lessons learned meeting. We're going to have a room, everyone who was involved in the incident, we're going to do a debrief, we're going to capture all the information, and this is where the true facts and the storylines get brought out, and we can do a healthy analysis. Through this analysis, this conversation, we're going to be identifying weaknesses and positives that happened. We're also asked for an honest evaluation of the response effectiveness. Were there things we did right, did wrong, are there areas in the improvement? And out of all this, we're going to pull out ideas, and there's probably going to be areas where we're going to have to bring back and introduce some sort of training. Most cyber incidents may have a human element involved, and we'll pull real-world examples out of what just happened and either incorporate it into corporate training, like end-user training for security awareness, or we may have to bring back additional training, technical training for our incident handlers or IT teams, because during the incident we found out that they were lacking the speed or efficiencies needed to properly handle the situation. And of course, we're going to document all this. We're going to record everything we've identified, and we're going to capture all this so we can build upon this for the future. So let's have a meeting. Yeah, I know we joke about meetings in office space and office place. Having a formal structured meeting is very important when we're having an after action review. It's very important to create an agenda for the meeting, publish it ahead of time so everyone has an opportunity to prepare and gather the materials. And remember that a productive lessons learned meeting contributes to our continuous improvement and better incident response capabilities of the organization. So therefore, we also have to keep these conversations open and constructive. Try to find ways to be productive. And let's not focus so much on trying to find blame, right? There's opportunities for improvement in everything we do, and sometimes things happen. This is also a time where we're going to bring forth the root cause analysis. We now formally know what happened and how it happened. We have all the technical data. We're going to gather all the documentation that we had throughout the incident, bring it together, and we're going to collect all the minutes and ideas in this meeting and bring it all together. Now, our goal of all bringing this all together is once we identify actionable items, we want to actually find these recommendations and, have a conversation about them. What can we do to improve? And there should be a healthy dialogue back and forth as far as opportunities to improve and how do we get there. And a quick timeout for our responders advice. We need to track the findings. Your team just identified areas of improvement that reduce the chance of this ever happening again. And it's essential that someone in management or senior leadership takes ownership and tracks the completion of these findings. Now, because remember, learning from these incidents and tracking their improvements actually helps prevent the recurrence of these negative outcomes and promotes positive outcomes for future incidents. Right? So therefore, we need someone to keep track of this, and management is properly suited for that. They need to have regular follow-up meetings that are being scheduled out. So if we are putting forth project plans and things to address failures or weaknesses in security, someone in management is tracking that this is getting accomplished. Management is also in position to gather the budgets that needed for any future acquisitions for software training or staff. And right now, everyone is focused on these changes now. It's fresh in their heads. The combat is real. But once things go back to business as usual, things will, when the dust settles, people will start to lose interest and focus. And it's up to management to keep everyone on track and keep these initiatives moving forward. Otherwise, we've wasted all of our time and opportunity to improve ourselves and to protect the organization. So this is our opportunity to get a scorecard. How did incident responders do? Well, let's look at our gaps. Did we have any security controls that failed us? Did we properly respond? Were they properly tuned? And how do we know if we have any gaps? Do we close those gaps? In the middle of our incidents, where there's data that we wish we could acquire but we could not get, are those blind spots now, or there's areas there that we could potentially look into getting information for the next incident? Security processes, human processes, if there's anything there that failed us. How do we close those gaps? Maybe a new policy needs to be developed, or maybe existing policies need to be modified. And of course, end user training. There's always going to be information out of an incident to better craft user training so the likelihood of an incident like this nature happening again gets reduced. And let's look at our monitoring. Did we miss any early warning signs? Was this a security staff training situation, or was there a tune or a tool that was not finally tuned properly? Do we have any indicators to look for? All right. Are we ready for the next one? Do we feel confident that if the situation was repeat itself again after this last incident, would be able to properly detect and identify things early enough in the process to prevent any kind of major damage? And finally, let's take a look at, did we respond in time? Did we have a proper response? Was there damage to the systems? Could there have been less damage if we improved better or responded better? If not, why did that happen? And do we really have what it takes to respond properly next time? And this is where management, again, has a healthy conversation and, gives us a scorecard. Let's look at what happened and how can we improve. And we talked about training a little bit already. Let's take this opportunity to raise the awareness amongst employees and the skills of the IT teams. Something bad just happened, and let's take these events and try to find ways to incorporate that so the whole organization can improve, not just one or two departments. And real world events and timely events carry more weight, and therefore this is an ideal time to present training to people corporate wide without it making it appear punitive. In the IT teams, you may have identified that there are skills and abilities that you just didn't have in order to properly respond, and that's okay. Take the opportunity to identify those and map out a training plan. And the other thing, as far as IT, you should be actually involved in the crafting of the end user training. Some organizations, there's dedicated training departments, but the IT team should be feeding the real world threats, the true what happened and how can we prevent things to the people who, the authors of the courseware, so you can get accurate, meaningful training out to your end users. And just again, reiterate, training, this isn't a punishment. This is not a timeout or finger wag. This is just to make sure that everyone is on their toes and everyone's aware that something did happen. And these are the things that the organization requested of you to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And getting back to our meeting, again, we talk about documentation. Here's our opportunity. We capture everything that we've done along the way, each of the steps. We collect all our information. We record all our change management steps. We identify all our gaps, our areas of improvement, and identify a means to track improvements. And we're going to collect all this information and put it in one nice, neat little bundle, and then we're going to preserve it. This could be future evidence. Again, we talked about this in the past that some organizations, a cyber breach may very well have civil or compliance or regulatory response from different agencies. And having a properly well documented lessons learned meeting and identifying everything that listed here on the screen and captured right gives the sense, gives the air that the organization took the cyber incident seriously, and regulators may potentially look at that as in a positive light when you're having a bad day with a regulator to begin with. And the other part thing is we want to capture in documentation because we don't know when we might need to call this documentation again. You may have an incident today, record everything in your after action review, and it may go into a personal library or a offsite storage someplace, an archive, and you don't know that a civil proceeding may come out of this 5, 6 years down the road. Well, who is still around your organization who handled the incident? Who's going to remember something that happened 5 or 6 years ago? Who's remember every painstaking step that you guys took? This brings the whole need of documentation front and center and why we need to preserve it and maintain good integrity around it. All right, let's bring this session in for a landing. For our lessons learned phase, remember to have a formal meeting. All right, let the meeting be open and productive. We're looking for a good, healthy conversation. So that means we're going to talk about good things, bad things, and some things that aren't quite so good. Remember, the whole spirit of this is improvement and not blame. We're trying to make sure that if something like this happens again, the impact of business is minimized. We want to track all the action items in those meetings and make sure that some work gets done on those. Always look for training opportunities, both for end users as well as IT and security teams. And again, all this stuff is going to put us back in our preparation stage, ready for the next attack if it should come about. And as always, we want to make sure we record everything, document it, and preserve it. And I'd like to thank you for following us through this entire series. While our path on this incident response journey has reached its end, I hope that you found this more than informational and useful. Thank you for being part of this journey. Until we meet again, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep moving forward. Be sure to check out all the other content from our SecurIT360 team. We have an awesome podcast and blog posts out there. For more information, you can reach out to any one of us down below. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon.